This is a vlog for October 8th, 2018. It was not hot today. Office updates are available. It was not hot today. It was hot in the room that I was in today. We were moved into a new location to work today as part of the department rebuilding reorganization that I've been going through. I think I mentioned that the house is being remodeled, and then when I go to work, the work is also being remodeled. It's just been my life for, since August at least. No, actually, it's been like this since July, come to think of it. They started construction on the house very early in July. When I got back to work, they were working on that at work in July. Apparently, before they moved us into that room, they had forgotten to get the HVAC hooked up completely. And at some point, somebody reported that the room we were in was 84 degrees, which is just terrible. Outside, it was probably mid-50s and raining through most of the day. The rest of the week is actually much better weather outside, but I am definitely not wearing a shirt and an undershirt tomorrow. I'm going to wear a t-shirt. I'm going to wear a nice, easy to breathe, thin t-shirt, possibly a polo, and that's what I'm going to wear for the rest of the week, just in case this problem occurs again. I couldn't tell you. It is stressful, even aside from getting new desks set up and doing all the other stuff that happens when you move locations. It is stressful, and then to have the temperature be so incredibly hot. And, of course, as you can see, I also did not get my hair cut this last weekend. At this point, I'm thinking about scheduling in the middle of the week and taking time off in the middle of the week to go get my hair cut, because why not? But we'll see. We'll see. We'll see how I feel if it is actually in the 60s tomorrow. I'm really glad to be home. I don't have a lot else to talk about today. Still listening to Critical Role, and it's sort of weird because I've been listening to, this is the 15th episode I'm on of the second campaign. And out of these 15 episodes, each of which is like 3 to 4 hours, 3 hours minimum. Well, I think they went a little bit under 3 hours in the last one, but at least 2.5 hours minimum every time, often getting up to 4 hours in length. They've been on one actual dungeon crawl that spanned 2 episodes. And now they are finally in what I would consider to be a classic dungeon. When I think of a classic dungeon in Dungeons & Dragons, I think of a ruin, something that has had traps left in it for a long period of time, broken stonework all over the place, little piles of rubble, sometimes actual dungeons with empty cells that prisoners were kept in. That's sort of, for me, the quintessential dungeon, and that's what this one is. It's not, an actual jail or place where captives were kept, but it does have that sense of an old ruin that was just somehow discovered and is inhabited by any number of inhuman things that can pass through the earth either by tunneling or by more mystical means to make residence in this place that don't need anything but the occasional adventurer to chew on to stay maybe not alive, but active. And yet, even though that's what I think of when I think dungeon, especially in a video game or Dungeons and Dragons, I usually don't make those myself. Partly because the whole idea of setting up a dungeon layout with multiple passages and traps and encounters and all that is a lot of work. Usually, 1 or 2 combats, 3 or 4 at most. You don't need some of these labyrinths that I've seen maps of online, especially, that just seem overwrought and the party may not check every room. And especially if you have this whole map and you just set it out, they will want to check every room because they'll see every single room and every secret passage that maybe you wanted to stay hidden. It's basically, more trouble than it's worth. So a lot of my adventures barely have dungeons in them whatsoever, including the one-off that I ran, which had one part of one castle. It was an actual dungeon that was inhabited by undead. That I just did that almost because it's Dungeons and Dragons, and my campaign setting doesn't really have dragons as they are classically imagined. So, I like to play with the tropes. But one of the things that Critical Role spoils me and any other person that watches, specifically watches, the podcasts don't have this element, but the Twitch streams and the YouTube broadcasts do, is that Matt has some incredible 3D dungeon sets that he has incorporated into the streams that I don't know if he's making them or if they are being provided to him by Geek and Sundry or just fans that think Critical Role is amazing, and I do think it's amazing, but I don't have the kind of money to throw 3D dungeons at him. I'd love to have something like that. I love Legos. I love model kits and building and terrain in general. I've said that. The logistics of actually trying to keep a set of modular dungeon pieces it's rough. It's difficult, not gonna lie. It's just hard. Every now and then I get it in my head how much fun it would be to have a set of dungeon tiles that I could use to set up any number of fiendish lairs for all manner of creatures. But that's for another time. I'm Eric Spornitz, and tomorrow will be better.